The air quality in the national capital continues to deteriorate as the AQI has been recorded at over 400 in most of the places across New Delhi. The overall AQI of the city continues to remain in the severe category. Meanwhile, Delhi is of course reeling under a layer of haze and has been engulfed by a thick layer of fog too. In certain areas, sprinkling of water is being done by the Municipal Corporation of Delhi as a measure against the rise in the air quality index. Meanwhile, the Delhi government has ordered all the government as well as primary schools to remain shut on Friday as well as Saturday. The third stage of the graded response action plan is also being implemented by the Commission of Air Quality Management in the wake of the situation. You can of course see visuals that we are flashing for all of you on our screens. This of course showcases how severe the situation is in the national capital. Right from morning, there has been visibility that has been impaired of people. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast today afternoon to discuss more is Mr. Suyash Gupta, who is the Director General of Indian Auto LPG Coalition. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for joining us on NewsX. At the outset, I would like to ask you, have you personally felt any difference in the air quality in the past few weeks, and are you finding it difficult to be in New Delhi at this time?
There are two contexts for me to be on this. A, of course, representing the industry association, but more important than that, I'm a resident of NCR, and I've been an asthmatic primarily because of the air quality of Delhi. When I travel abroad, I don't need to use my inhalers, but as soon as I'm back in Delhi, you know, it's a perpetual story. Every year we have some great air quality days during these summers, but as we come towards this season, it's always the same story. We keep on, the narrative always remains the same. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, some parali, air quality on vehicles. But really, it's a very sad story. It's a very sad story that we continue to just push the problem away, assuming it's a story of two more months and then it'll all go away. So I do have a lot of suggestions on this, but maybe I'll let you continue on the other panelists, and then I'll come in on, or I'd be glad to answer any questions. Well, I represent the auto LPG industry, and I would be glad to give a global picture as to why India has not been doing as well on air quality issues in comparison to so many of our peers, whether it's Korea or Turkey. But for initial comments, I'd like to limit this, and then I'll be glad to come back.
Indeed, I'd like to keep this conversation with you going. In the meantime, other panelists will be joining us rather shortly. You mentioned that it is a problem that we're facing year after year after year. The residents of Delhi are reeling under this. One thing you've mentioned is the fact that Parali is being burnt, but now GRAP 3 is being implemented, and there has been a considerable switch to electric vehicles that we've seen in the past few years. This is alleviating the issue in a certain manner, but what else do you think can be done to mitigate the issue even further?
I'm glad you brought that up. I think electric is truly a great solution. Electric is a great solution, but it's an aspirational solution. It's not a solution for today. It's not a solution for tomorrow. Electric is going to take time. We know 66% of our electricity still comes from coal, and it's only a matter of the roads apparently being seen a bit cleaner, but that doesn't happen in Delhi anyways. We are caught in a narrative between what can be done today vis-a-vis what could have been done, what can be done tomorrow. So between the aspirational and between what is pragmatic today. So auto LPG, I believe, Delhi has been a CNG city for many years, and there is a historical political reason also for that. I'd not like to go into that narrative. But if you look at this, our country in terms of LPG consumption, we are amongst the top 3 in the country. But if you look at the auto LPG consumption, we are amongst the top, we're not even among the top 15. And that's primarily because the narrative has always been aspirational, something which we would like to accomplish in 20 years, but not looking at today. Now there are 33 crore vehicles on Indian roads today. 33 crore vehicles. And can we wish these vehicles away? We really cannot do that. And these 33 crore vehicles cannot be converted to electric anyways. So what happens? Do we wait for a few million vehicles and wait for the next 30, 40 years? No, it doesn't happen. If a person is feeling hungry today, he needs to be fed the same day. You cannot assume to plan and feed him with organic food only after 20 years. We need to look at something, pragmatic solutions today. There must be a reason. I mentioned about Turkey, I mentioned about South Korea. Our LPG consumption, or domestic, the auto LPG consumption is just about 0.3 million tons, whereas South Korea and Turkey, they're doing 4 million tons. And I'll give you a very interesting statistic. Again, auto LPG is the world's third most used automotive fuel. And if you compare it to India, it's nowhere near the other fuels. 46% of all private vehicles, 46% of all private vehicles in Turkey run on LPG, on auto LPG. And similar is the story in case of South Korea, Poland, and many other countries. So the narrative, we need to look at solutions which are possible today and look at transition fuels for the next 15, 20 years. Electric is great. The context for electric in particular, I would say, it's not just about air quality, it's also about energy security for the country. Because we will have more lithium from the mines in Jammu and Kashmir and many other areas wherein we are looking to get thorium also. You might have read the recent reports on that. So looking at the broader picture wherein we have so many reserves of minerals coming in, but all these will take at least 20 years to really come on stream and make a tangible difference. What happens until then? Do we continue to breathe the same air quality as we are doing today? It's a sad state of affairs. Every year it's the same. Today, when I was invited to be on the panel, I thought, let me just switch on my the satellite TV. And I switched on my TV, and the antenna is not getting a signal because cloudy. It's cloudy, and it's so sad. It's affecting life everywhere. Indeed. Of course, we are in the comfort of our own zones. We are using air filters everywhere in rooms. So we don't feel that as much sitting in our offices. But if we go out, and kudos to your team, NewsX team on Parliament Street and everywhere. They're having to breathe that air quality. I have a high appreciation for them.
All right, sir, I'll come back to you because you've addressed some rather pertinent points. You've talked about alternatives, in fact, to EV, and I'd like to address that once again. But also joining us is Mr. Aditya Mishra. He is CFO at Static. We were just talking about EVs. Your organization deals with electric vehicles. So, of course, a switch can be made and it is possible. But in fact, if we do the math, and we have done the math on our channel earlier, even if 50% of the EVs of the cars, I beg your pardon, are switched to electric vehicles, it would cost about 28.7% of the daily consumption in Delhi. So that is quite a statistic. What else do you think can be done to ensure that the issue of pollution can be mitigated? What steps can we take as individuals?
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me here. Look, first of all, let me start as a runner. Today morning I couldn't go out and run. So you can clearly see that we are feeling the impact of the pollution that's there in the air. I think the government has taken a lot of actions, but the tragedy is that all these decisions or actions are always taken around the time when this issue comes up and the discussion starts happening in the month of October, right? these are not short-term actions. Any actions that the government needs to take has to be a multi-month, multi-year action, which should lead to an impact over the next 2 to 3 years. And a good example of this is, what we saw in Beijing, around the Olympics, when there used to be such a severe issue. Over the next 3 to 4 years, 5 years, the government worked significantly in removing industries, polluting industries out of, or kind of having very strict pollution control norms for some of the emitters, and bringing down the emission norms over a period of time. I think that's where things are required. In summary, I could say this requires a multi-year prolonged plan by different government agencies working hand in hand with a very clear target that in November and December, the AQI of should not be more than 100, 150, which is even a higher number in any years. I think once you put a target, I'm sure people can get together and work on different things.
Indeed, and I'd like to come back to Mr. Gupta. Sir, you referred to lithium while you were making your point. Lithium mining does have a couple of drawbacks, including the fact that it pollutes the air and water, and it's not as sustainable in the long run. Do you think alternatives such as a green hydrogen could be what we're looking to incorporate in the future?
Absolutely. Well, we live in an age where we have to choose between the lesser evils. Of course, lithium will have issues in terms of its mining, but in the broader narrative of also energy security and also what is pragmatic today, because hydrogen is a great fuel, and I truly believe hydrogen is going to be such a low carbon, such a clean fuel, but the distribution issues in terms of hydrogen, and we're talking about green hydrogen, maybe for institutional purposes, for applications as a feedstock. In some applications it can be used, but it's going to be a while away wherein you really see the usage of hydrogen as a pragmatic alternative. It's going to be 15-20 years. But until then, we must continue to build up on all the available narratives. The solution is not just about if this is the right solution or if that is the right solution. It's going to be a mix of whatever is practical, whatever is sustainable today. It's going to be the diesel vehicles, as I said, the 33 crore vehicles on roads, the diesel vehicles, the BS4 vehicles, BS3 vehicles, which in some, you have very limited BS3 vehicles now, but still, what happens to those vehicles on roads? So I come back to that narrative again. We have to choose between the lesser evils and see, as Aditya said, let's look at an AQI number, 150, and let's try and work towards that. Let's have some pragmatic targets in place and work towards that, maybe not on a national basis. Let's look this on a geographical basis. We are in Delhi, we are looking at the narrative in Delhi, the NCR region, but look at many, many other areas which do not make it to the news because it's not Mumbai, because it's not Delhi. But you look at a lot of cities, maybe in Bihar, in Jharkhand, in UP, you look at AQI levels in Kanpur, it's only a matter of time that because of the air flows and because of the several environmental factors, sometimes it's Delhi, sometimes the story could be somewhere else. But we're just trying to manage the narratives rather than really looking at the solutions and really getting it done.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.